Sophia's arrest was a somber affair. Detective Esson, despite the gravity of her deception, handled her with a kind of weary empathy, understanding that she was a woman wrapped in her own labyrinth of guilt and regret. Yet, the law demanded consequences for actions, regardless of the underlying intentions. "Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law," Esson recited, a phrase he had said hundreds of times, but never with such a weighty pit in his stomach. Sophia only nodded, her gaze fixed on some unseen point in the distance. The police station was cold and unwelcoming, filled with a cacophony of noise. Phones ringing, typewriters clacking, officers discussing cases in hushed tones. But Sophia was numb to it all. Sitting in the holding cell, her mind filled with a deafening silence as she contemplated the whirlwind of events. Days later, she was released on bond. The sun had already set, casting long shadows on the barren streets as she stepped outside. Free, but not free. Her lawyer, a stern woman named Alice, advised her to prepare for a tumultuous journey ahead. The days following her release were shrouded in a fog of guilt and despair. Sophia found herself in a perpetual state of wakefulness, haunted by her daughter's image, the sound of gunshots, and the bitter taste of betrayal. "Aaron, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." One sleepless night melted into the next. Each passing moment, a grim reminder of the tragic turn her life had taken. The four walls of her house seemed to close in on her, the silence speaking volumes about her profound loneliness, the guilt, the remorse, the longing for her daughter. It was a burden that weighed heavy on her, a dark cloud that refused to dissipate. Caught in this cycle of self-reproach, Sophia decided to seek help. Her actions had set off a chain of catastrophic events, and she hoped, desperately, that there was some way she could atone, some way she could find solace amidst the wreckage of her life. Dr. William, a middle-aged man with an air of calm around him, was well known in the city for his expertise in dealing with trauma-induced insomnia. His office was a well-lit room adorned with abstract paintings and shelves filled with medical journals. It was here that Sophia found herself one afternoon, waiting anxiously for her first consultation. As Dr. William entered the room, his eyes met Sophia's. Sophia. "Correct?" he asked, taking a seat opposite her. He studied her carefully, noting the visible signs of exhaustion under her eyes and the tense posture of a woman wound tight. "Yes," Sophia answered, her voice barely above a whisper. "What brings you here?" Dr. William asked, his tone gentle, his gaze patient. I can't sleep," Sophia confessed. "Every time I close my eyes, I see him." Dr. William, sensing her discomfort, leaned back, giving her space. "The devil," she whispered, her hands nervously fidgeting with a loose thread on her sweater. Her voice held a tremor, betraying her fear. "He's there, every time I close my eyes, waiting." Dr. William carefully noted Sophia's words. He could tell that the devil was more than a figment of her imagination. It was the manifestation of her guilt, her remorse, her fears, all cloaked under the metaphor of the devil. It was common for trauma victims to envision their guilt and fear as tangible beings. "That sounds challenging," he acknowledged, maintaining his calm demeanor. "We'll work together on this, Sophia. You're not alone." As Sophia poured out her fears, Dr. William listened with a mixture of professional detachment and genuine empathy. Here was a woman bearing the weight of an enormous guilt, plagued by sleepless nights and haunted by the devil of her own creation. In Dr. William's eyes, Sophia's case was an intriguing labyrinth of psychological complexities. His professional curiosity was piqued, and he found himself ready to uncover the depth of Sophia's guilt, while carefully concealing his own intention of using her case as an opportunity to further his research on trauma-induced insomnia. Dr. Williams sat back in his chair, his expression thoughtful as he studied Sophia. A subtle shift in his demeanor. Subtle shift in his demeanor signaled a departure from the compassionate psychiatrist to the driven researcher. The case unfolding before him presented an unparalleled opportunity for his ongoing study on trauma. Induced insomnia. However, the proposed sleep study involved significant risks that he had yet to reveal. "Sophia," he began, leaning forward, "there might be a solution to your problem. I've been working on a sleep study that could potentially help you." "A study?" Sophia echoed, her brows furrowing slightly. "I believe so," Dr. Williams said, not entirely truthful. He was well aware of the risks involved, the possible side effects that might even exacerbate her condition. But the promise of scientific breakthrough overshadowed his caution. "It's experimental and comes with its own set of risks, but I truly believe it's worth a shot." "Risks?" Sophia asked, a tremor of fear evident in her voice. But her desperation for relief was far stronger than her fear of the unknown. "If it will help me sleep." Dr. William nodded, satisfied with her response, yet the weight of his decision pressed on him. "I appreciate your courage, Sophia. We will begin as soon as you're ready." Sophia nodded, hope flickering in her eyes. Here was a chance to escape her torment, to finally find some semblance of peace. Despite the ambiguity surrounding the study, she found herself agreeing to it, driven by her desperation. After Sophia had left his office, Dr. William found himself wrestling with his conscience. The lure of scientific advancement had always been strong, but this time it involved a vulnerable woman grappling with immense guilt and fear. It was a dangerous path, one that could potentially lead to breakthrough or catastrophe. Yet as he looked down at his notes, his mind already charting the course for the study, he realized that he was ready to take the risk. After all, in the pursuit of knowledge, weren't all great scientists forced to wrestle with their own devils?